This is the Beyond Average Podcast, Episode 1.
The one thing we have in this world is we can't control the events, but we can choose what to focus on, we can choose what things mean, and we can choose what to do.
And boom, we're live.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the first episode of Beyond Average Podcast. My name is Corey Anderson.
And I am Anthony Palmiato.
And we're bringing this podcast to you to just introduce a new way of thinking. Well, it's really not a new way of thinking. It's just thinking outside the realm of average. So what we're going to do now is just kind of introduce ourselves and, what we're about, kind of our belief system a little bit.
Yeah, so we first had the idea for the podcast just based on the fact that Corey and I, we've had probably dozens of conversations about a lot of the stuff that we want to put into this podcast. Excuse me, and basically said we got to record this because there's probably other people who think the same way we do, who could benefit from some of the stuff we're going to talk about, and that was kind of the inspiration behind it, I guess, right?
Yeah, and how funny it was. It's one of those typicals. You're drinking and you have a good idea story. I mean, we were drinking, it's something we normally don't do, and we were just having a good conversation. We're like, we should record this and just share it. It's not really to boast about any knowledge we have. It's just kind of, we're always looking for new knowledge, a new way of doing things. So we kind of just want to share it with other people and hopefully, help them do the same.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we talked about when we were discussing the podcast was we're not coming to do a podcast as some sort of guru or expert on any particular topic.
Right.
The idea is more, we're in the grind right now.
Yep.
We both have laser focused goals as far as where we want to be. And this is kind of part of that journey that we're on. So, Corey, you want to talk about some of the things that we're going to touch on the show?
Yeah. Well, first, actually, I want to introduce us, kind of who we are, so people know. I mean, what do you do for work?
Yeah, so I'm a commercial real estate broker. I sell mostly multifamily buildings, apartments, and this is obviously something we'll have a whole episode on, but I took that job for a very specific reason, and it wasn't for the money. One of the things we certainly believe in is work to get skills, not to get money, because that's going to help you out down the road, and we'll obviously get into that. But I took that job basically with the hopes to learn about how to invest in apartment buildings and how that business worked. Now, you can make a good living doing that, but I don't want to be doing that when I'm 65 years old. So basically, it's a means to an end for me. So I sell apartment buildings, and what about you?
Well, I do some engineering work, doing designs for a phone company in New York, and it's actually, I kind of go against the principle of learning for, first it started with knowledge, but now it's kind of for just to make some money, but it's not just to make money, there's goals behind it. There's certain things I'm paying for and saving up for. One of them is being multifamily housing.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, one of the things that, we always talk about is we're so against the idea of just get a job, work there for 40 years. What do they say? Invest for the long haul in a well-diversified 401k.
Yeah.
We think that that's probably some of the most dangerous advice people could get these days.
What's dangerous about it is leaving your future and your money and your hard-earned money in someone else's hands.
And it's sad because you hear people say, "Oh, well, they're going to match my 401k," and like that's the greatest thing they've ever heard. And listen,
it does. It sounds great.
Right. I mean,
it's pitched nicely.
But the whole idea of the retirement plans these days and just the idea of working for the man, doesn't appeal to us. It shouldn't appeal to most people out there. And listen, not everybody is an entrepreneur. Not everybody is going to want to listen to this podcast. We probably already offended somebody just saying what we said. And that's fine. This wouldn't be for them. But there's a lot of people out there who, at the end of the day, know that there's more to what they're doing. There's more to life than just kind of doing the 9-to-5 thing forever. And I'm fortunate that I kind of figured that out when I was in college. So I kind of never had a job, a day in my life where I thought, well, I'm just going to do this for 40 years and retire and then hope that I don't outlive my money.
Exactly. And I kind of took the same path where, I never worked a job really, except for the one I'm at currently, more than 6 months. And it's not because I have a commitment problem or I don't want to work there.
Well, you don't have a girlfriend, so you might have a commitment problem.
Maybe, but you know, I just, you know, I did get bored of it, but it's kind of, I learned what I needed to learn from it, and kind of moved on. Like, for example, in college, I had the best advice I got. Well, I can't say the best because there's just, I have
A lot of places we get advice
yeah,
from.
just so much to pick from. You know, I can give advice constantly from the advice that I got, but what the college professor said was, and again, we'll touch on this before I tell you, take advice from people that are actually doing it.
Yeah.
You don't want no Joe Schmo that's, you know, he's working in a carpet company and he's telling you how to make millions. The professor was an ex-CFO of a big toilet paper company. You know, he knows his stuff, and he said
He knows about dirty asses.
he knows about dirty asses and what to do with
So
them.
if you have
and
a
how to
question
clean them.
about dirty asses, you're asking.
Yeah,
Basically, and I've heard similar thing where if you want to know how to fix a car, ask a mechanic.
exactly.
If you want to know how to be rich and how to be wealthy and how to be financially free,
Yep.
those are the people you have to ask. People who are already
Yep.
entrepreneurs and financially free.
And what he told me was, if you haven't ever had a sales job yet, go get a sales job. And so the very next summer after, you know, that semester was over, I worked at a door-to-door marketing company. And,
With
you know,
not with plans to retire from that company, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
With plans to learn those skills.
I just wanted to go there and be the best marketer I could be. And actually, when I finished, we had ended up with, at the end of the summer, there were 70 guys. And I was definitely in the top 10, top 5 guys.
Have you had a number of sales jobs? Because I've certainly had a laundry list of sales jobs.
I had that one. No, a lot of other jobs were kind of labor jobs. I actually took a job at Lowe's for a summer just to learn to be in a big box store and what that's all about.
Right.
And it was fun. You know, I had fun, but it's, you know, like I said, it's not
You probably
something to
learned
retire
that's something you don't want to do, right?
on. Yeah.
I've sold a lot of stuff. I've sold, me and our friend Jesse, we sold extended car warranties over the phone.
Oh,
Yeah, when you're 17 years old making $12.50 an hour, we felt like we were rich selling extended auto warranties. So that was like, you know, just the first direct sales, cold calling all day. And then I had a job, best job I ever had was selling ice cream. I was the ice cream man, actually Italian ices.
That's right.
And you know what? You learn how to upsell, you learn how to cross sell, you learn how to do all these things that because you worked on commission. So you had to figure out ways to maximize the revenue the truck brought in.
Yeah.
And it was just silly things like that. But over time, you actually learn a lot of sales skills. I had an internship with a payroll company selling payroll, you know, business to business. And then obviously now selling commercial real estate. I went from selling $2 Italian ices to selling, you know, $5 million apartment buildings. So it comes full circle.
Beautiful thing.
But I agree with you. That's probably one skill everybody should have is learning how to sell.
And people would get turned off with the idea of selling. They think, you know, some sleazy salesman, which there are a lot out there. But you sell every day. You know, you sell you're trying to get that girl you want. You're selling yourself to her.
Have you ever been on a job interview? That's a sales
You're
job.
selling yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you're selling constantly. I mean, little kids are selling. They're trying to sell their parents on why they should get that toy.
Well, little kids are the best salesmen because
Oh, yeah.
what does no mean to a little kid?
It means nothing.
Means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you can't have a cookie before dinner. They don't care. They want a cookie anyway.
They're going to sell you on that.
They're
Why
gonna
they should
think-
have
yeah.
it. And
they'll probably get it too.
exactly. But the problem is in the current day and age, you know, they go through school and they get conditioned to, oh, don't bother them, don't do that, and you become terrified to approach people, you know, and it's kind of sad, but sales is something that I think you should definitely hold on to, and that all goes to the school system, which
And we'll
episode
definitely
too.
touch on that too. But
Absolutely.
really, the school system. And listen, I love our teachers. I think
Yep.
the teachers do a fantastic
I
job. I
agree.
have so many friends who are teachers, and they care
very
about
passionate.
they care about what they do. They care about the kids. But the school system itself, in my opinion, you know, really teaches kids to be like well-disciplined employees.
Yeah.
And probably by design.
Mhm.
You know, they want you to go get a safe, secure job and invest for the long haul. All the stuff we talked about, you know, earlier in the show. You know, the idea of if I could just graduate, if I can get a job making $50,000, like I've made it. And you know what? To be honest with you, for some people, if that's what makes you happy, that's okay. I mean, that's fine. Then you should do that. But the reason we're doing this show is because a lot of people, that's not. It's within them to do a lot more, and they
Exactly.
kind of need to just get it out, and they have to just go for it.
And I feel the school system suppresses that a little bit. And you know, the teachers I know, they don't take the job for the money. They do it because they love kids. They love, you know, teaching kids.
Yeah.
And with that passion, I think, you know, actually Steve Jobs told the president, I don't know if it was months or years before he actually passed away, that until the day you remove books and the standard way of teaching now out of the school system, things are never going to change. And
Because otherwise, you're just creating little factory workers.
kids don't learn that way. Yeah. there's other ways that you learn through games, you learn through other things, and again, we'll touch on that more in another show. But
and to piggyback that, the whole idea of college. I mean, I think way too many people are going to college. I think college is probably the biggest scam going these days.
Yep.
There are certainly certain people who should be going to college and who need a college education, but by and large, there is probably, I don't want to put a percentage on it, but there's a great number of kids who shouldn't be going. Kids who don't want to go, kids who go and get majors that have nothing to do with, it's hard to argue that, I got an art history degree and now there's no jobs for me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if that's what you're passionate about, that's great, but you can't complain about $100,000 in debt if you chose to get an art history degree and there's no jobs.
Exactly.
But we're funneling all these kids into colleges when a lot of these kids should be going out learning trades and becoming entrepreneurs. And college is big business. So definitely something we'll get into. We'll have a whole episode on.
And on the flip side of that, I mean, if you're going to college that has a great business reputation that you're learning from, like I said, I had this, CFO. Another teacher I had, actually, he trained CEOs all around the world how to run companies.
Yeah.
And he was a little of an oddball, but I could tell the guy was ridiculously smart. I try to learn from him. The way he thought was just he would actually play games with us. He would have us do certain, activities in a college class, and we're all kind of like, what's going on? And then he would reveal afterward that it was all kind of like a social experiment he would do.
You like Mr. Miyagi, you were learning and you didn't know you were learning.
No, it was really actually wild, and it was actually his first college class that he taught because he was bored. He got bored as a trained CEO, so he wanted to teach kids. Right. But those are the guys. If you're going to college to respected business schools that are going to teach you stuff like that, yeah, great. But you're not going to learn how to make $1 million from someone that makes $50,000 a year, and that doesn't take nothing away from them. Like I said, I respect teachers. We need them.
You're going to learn how to be an accountant or learn how to be a teacher. You're going to learn. You're going to learn how to get a job. Is really what you're going to learn. Exactly. I can honestly say I've had probably 3 or 4 classes of all the classes I took in college that I really thought that I took something out of.
They were worth all the money you spent. Just those few classes.
Those classes, and I could easily say I've learned more from reading books than I have from college.
Just from reading books, and the key is to implement what you learn too. If you learn a cool trick in a book about waking up early and doing something, implement it, try it out. Don't just read it and think it's going to work for you, because then you're just full of knowledge and you're really full of shit.
We're going to be doing a lot on books, I think, because the correlation between successful high net worth people and reading books is so unbelievably high.
Books is what changed my life. I mean, not that I have a bad life to begin with, but I was just kind of lost and confused, didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
I knew I didn't want. I had that, just like I know a lot of people wake up in the morning.
They know they want to do something. They have some kind of idea for something, and they just don't know kind of what direction.
Yeah, they have an itch that why am I getting up? Why am I going? This is not what I want to do. Well, this show's for you then, because
don't do it.
Tell you. Find
or at least have a plan to be doing something else, and a lot of people don't, unfortunately.
Yeah, some people just like me, for example. I can't just quit my job and forget my bills. I got to keep going. But you should have your goals of what you really want to do with your life set, and work towards them and kind of transition yourself into that.
There's a good Jim Rohn quote, who is another guy. We could do a whole episode on Jim Rohn, ROHN, if you want to check him out on YouTube.
One of the first audiobooks I ever read was The Power of Ambition by him.
Yeah, he has a quote. He says, work full-time on your living while you work part-time on your fortune. Yeah, which is really what a lot of successful entrepreneurs do, especially early on when they're young. Mm-hmm. As far as the books go, though, I'll say right off the bat, Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is the best-selling personal finance book of all time. Robert Kiyosaki wrote it in I think it was 95 or 96, but I read it when I was in college. That book changed my life, like the day I read that.
And you recommended it to me, and that book changed my life.
Anybody who reads that book, one of two things happen. Either A, it just flips everything upside down on how you look at money, finances, your career, entrepreneurship, everything. Yeah. Or you say, this guy's a crock of shit. Yeah. He's a scam artist. And you know what? You're probably not the person who's going to be getting something out of this podcast.
Yeah, and the show ain't for you. Absolutely.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. We're not saying that. If you just want to go get a job and buy a house and raise a family, there's nothing wrong with that. But we're just trying to reach out to the people who want something more than that.
Right.
Doesn't make us better or worse. It just makes us different.
And to be honest, the people that do just want the house, the job, and that's what makes them happy, you probably can actually get something out of this show too, because we're not going to just touch on entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking about some of the current events going on, the economy, once the politics roll around.
Yeah. So why don't we get into that a little bit? I mean, obviously, we're going to talk. This is basically entrepreneurship centric. That's kind of the main topic the show is based around. But I would say we're definitely talking economics, which is so important. You don't learn anything about that in college.
I made it after. I'm getting a college degree. I'm actually still going because I take a couple classes a semester because working full time, and I actually want to get a master's in economics, not because I feel like I need it to succeed, just because I've learned how important economics is. Not everybody has to do that, but it's like economics is, if you can understand basic economics, you'll see where problems lie. You'll see what you can do to better your situation. It's just
the one thing that's interesting with that
so
is
important.
Obviously, we have similar views on economics, and we'll get into it. But the stuff you learn in school, unless you're going for an advanced degree like you're talking about, where you're kind of guiding your own course of study,
right,
you're learning what they call Keynesian economics, which is basically big deficit spending, lots of government intervention. And it's basically the kind of economic philosophy we subscribe to today, which is probably the most dangerous thing going.
It's not working.
It's basically the opposite of free market economics, which we've never really tried in practice.
We had it in the 1800s, early 1900s, when this country was being built, and that was the most prosperous time for people.
During the fastest period of economic growth the world's ever seen in any country.
Yep.
And people say, well, there was kids working in factories. Well,
that's technology.
The reason that kids don't still work in factories is because of the free market. Yeah. And that might sound a little confusing to people who don't follow economics, but we'll explain all that stuff because it's important to know. It's very interesting. And once you kind of know a little bit, it changes the whole way you look at everything.
Right.
Like it changes the way you look at the minimum wage debate, or this issue keeps popping up about inequality in pay versus men versus women. And it's just like, if all you did was watch the news, which is a bunch of bullshit, you would think that women get paid 70 cents on the dollar compared to men.
Right.
Until you actually look at the situation and realize what the hell is going on, and you can make a more informed opinion about it.
And that's the beautiful thing about free markets is, there doesn't need to be any diversity laws, because I'll tell you right now, if I own a company and there's a pick between the woman and the man, if the woman does a better job, I'm hiring her and I'm paying her more because I want to keep her.
You want the best talent. Because what's your motivation?
Man, female,
your motivation is to make money.
Yeah.
Right.
Give me the best employee that I can have. I don't care, who. It can be an alien. It doesn't matter.
Right. And while we're on the topic here, let's just say that you were a sexist, right? And you didn't want to hire.
You're losing out.
Right. So if you're gonna pay a man, $50,000 a year, but you're a sexist, so you're only willing to pay a woman $40,000 a year. Now that woman, her labor is freed up to go to a different part of the economy.
She'll go to your competitor.
She'll get hired by a competitor, and because you're now hiring some guy for $50,000 who can't do as good of a job as this woman, you're now going to suffer.
Yep.
And that's some of the ways that a free market, deals with these problems. And plus, you have the whole idea of, personal liberties. Everybody wants to say they believe in freedom, but they don't really.
Right.
Like we keep hearing this one about the bakery who wouldn't bake a cake for a gay wedding.
This is also business. The cool thing about free markets is the free market. You can call it the karma of the free market if you want. It'll correct that itself because they'll start losing profits.
Yeah.
And the bakery that does make the cake for the gay weddings, they'll start taking over.
Right. And let's look at it this way. So if there's a bakery in town who doesn't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding, are you and I going to support that business and shop there? No. Because they're. Yeah. I don't want to shop somewhere where they discriminate. Exactly. But I do believe that they have the right to serve who they want to serve. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If you, on some level, it's the same as a gym. It only caters to women. Most people don't have a problem with that because it doesn't feel so. It doesn't feel as wrong on the surface. But the point I'm making is the free market deals with all these issues. So if a baker doesn't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding, I don't think he has to. Me and you aren't going to shop there because the guy's an asshole. Yeah. Right? Obviously. Yeah. The free market's going to drive the guy out of business. So that's some of the things that, when you look on the surface and you say, we need legislation to make this guy bake cakes for gay weddings.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Market will
exactly. Yeah. So we're going to get into a lot of these topics.
And the cool thing is if we bring something up that you disagree with,
We want people to
look it up.
let us.
And that's the point of this. If you're forced to disagree with us and look it up yourself, that's that we did our job, and that's the point of the show, because we want you to think outside of the realm of what you're taught, and don't be afraid of change. Another good quote I heard. I don't know who it was by, but it was strong opinions held loosely. So be firm on your opinions and what you believe, but
always keep an open mind.
Yeah, if you're presented with facts that counteract it, don't be afraid to change your mind. That's the problem with people, that they hold on to their own opinions, they're not facts, just to make themselves feel better. You got to let go of that and just kind of embrace the fact that that your opinions may be wrong.
I can 100% guarantee that we're going to say things that offend somebody or people are going to disagree with at the very least.
Matter of fact, Theodore Roosevelt.
It's a different way of thinking.
Theodore Roosevelt said he's been quoted as saying if he can be right 75% of the time, that would make that would make his life complete. He says most of the time people are right about 25 to 50% of the time, in any given argument. And that's what he said. If he can be right 75% of the time, then he's feels like he's done his job. And
also, I don't know if you'd agree with
that's crazy coming from a president, that he just wants to be right 75% of the time.
I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I feel like the more strongly held opinions are oftentimes by people who are less educated about the topics. Like, the more intelligent you are and the more you know about a specific issue, the more open-minded you are to hear other sides of the argument.
Yeah, because you're in search of truth as well. You want to know, if someone else knows something, you want to know it too.
Right. So that's a little bit about economics. We'll probably touch on a little bit of politics as the elections come around.
We have our own opinions on politics and the way things are ran. It's obviously there's a lot of corruption, and we can get into that. What we're going to do once politics roll around is not so much give you of who to vote for. We'll just present the facts of who some of these people are and what they've done in the past, and you can make your own decisions.
Basically, we want to try to convince people not to just decide that they're either voting red or blue.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard.
Try to expose the fallacies and the ridiculous thing that we have this two-party system. It's an absolute joke.
And and for all the people that are pro Jeb Bush or pro Hillary Clinton, we'll expose some of their past.
Can you believe that we might have a Bush versus Clinton running for office?
I don't know what I would do. I would lose all faith in the way we elect, our whole election system. I really would be concrete believe that it's selected, it's not elected.
I'd be supporting Gary Johnson, who's a guy we'll probably bring up on this show.
Yeah, because he's the next best. Well, not the next best thing.
He'd be the libertarian candidate for president, but we'll get into all that. And then also, let's talk about one of the things we're going to talk about on the show. It's called Beyond Average, right? So we're not just focusing on all things money related. Health.
Absolutely. We're going to touch on that.
So you and I are both big bodybuilding fans.
Yes.
A sport that's definitely not mainstream, often misunderstood. But if you think about it, most guys who go to the gym are doing some form of bodybuilding, right? So there's a lot of people who
shaping your body.
Right. You're not lifting to be strong. You're not lifting to compete in sports. You're lifting because you want to look better.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that I think we can provide some perspective on that, a lot of guys who are going to the gym mindlessly, just throwing weights around, don't really know.
Yeah. And again, where I get my knowledge from is from reading articles, countless YouTube videos, books, and then taking all this and putting into practice in the gym and figuring out for myself. And, I'm 25 years old. I've been lifting like 16, 15, in football. And then I had an unfortunate injury when I was 17. So from 18 till now, I just been the one thing I started before I even started learning about finance, anything, was the articles about the gym. So we'll share what we can and what we know, just to kind of help.
I also want to say real quick the correlation. I keep wanting to say correspondence. The correlation between successful people and those who take care of their bodies and work out is also unbelievably high.
I'll tell you what, like the success that I've had in the gym. My own personal success goals I've been hitting, it definitely spills over into my personal life.
I mean, just think about it.
Without a doubt.
We can go in the gym and put 4 plates on a bar, do deadlifts and squats. And then you think about, I have to go make a cold call. It's like, it just changes your perspective on things. You know what I mean? You can go in the gym and absolutely give it your all if you just put that much effort into your business life.
Yeah. And that's what it's done for me, because it's hard to, be on a real nice diet, go in the gym and kill it, and then go home and just sit down and do nothing. It's like you feel like you got to keep killing it because it just you owe it to yourself, and you feel like if you don't do that, piece of work that you have to get done before the night's over. You don't make that phone call. You're just cheating yourself, just like you're cheating yourself in the gym.
So we'll definitely touch on a lot of that stuff because a lot of guys don't know the difference between a freaking calorie and a carbohydrate.
No, and that's another thing we're going to touch on is nutrition in the gym for people that are really about lifting and just overall America in general, about all the fallacies in nutrition in America.
Yeah.
Because it's actually pretty disturbing.
Food's obviously a big deal. You know, one of the saddest things is you see the same people in the gym all the time. If you go regularly, you'll always see the same guys. And there's guys who I've seen for the past 2 years at my gym. They're in there every single day, and they look exactly the same as they did 2 years ago. So so a lot of people are there putting the effort in, but they're not directing their energies towards the proper nutrition or the proper training.
Yep. And the body's made in the kitchen, to be honest. I mean, the gym is the easy part. That when I get in the gym, that's the easy part of my day. I'm not doing no work. I don't get to do nothing. Yeah, I just throw stuff around, and it's
the eating and the diet is the hard part. That's the part that you need to be committed to.
Mm-hmm.
As well as rest and other things. But so yeah, and we'll probably talk a little bit about the sport of bodybuilding. I mean, it's something we're fans of, and it's something that if a lot of people understood it more, I'm sure they'd be fans of it as well.
Yeah.
And we'll even touch on the women's side of fitness too, because a lot of women say, I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to get big and bulky.
It's not possible. It's the way estrogen and testosterone work. It's just not. It takes. You got to really be in high calories and really going at it, and possibly some steroid use to get manly looking muscles. Because as a woman, your body's not built that way.
Well, I'll go out and say that if a girl is training naturally without any drugs, which pretty much every girl we know are, no, you're not going to look like a man if you go and do the bench press and squats.
No.
The worst that's going to happen if you do squats is you might get a nice butt.
Yeah.
So, but we're going to talk about all that stuff because there's a lot of misconceptions in the world of nutrition and fitness. So
yeah. I'm going to look actually at the some other topics that we're going to touch on.
So why are we doing this personally?
The fallacies that are just floating around that people just believe in and take it, and they with the average way of thinking. And what we want to do is just kind of shift the way people think about things, and just question everything,
Question everything, yeah. Don't ever take things for the way they are.
Trust but verify. That's something you do in business. You always trust what you have, but you verify.
Yeah.
And that's something you should do with any information you get.
You know what? I know one of the things we talked about when we had the idea for the show was, why are we doing this podcast? And what we had said was it kind of goes along with the theme of the show, always kind of going for the extra mile and kind of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. Because to be honest,
that's the best advice I ever got either. If something makes you feel uncomfortable,
you should probably be doing it.
Yep.
And the idea of setting up a podcast, recording yourself on video, recording your voice, and conveying a message to people on the internet, it's a little bit
putting yourself out there to be made fun of.
It's uncomfortable, yeah. You know what?
I don't care.
It's no, I mean, listen, we don't care. We're doing it, obviously, but it's not the most comfortable situation. And that's how we said, that's how we know we need to do it.
Exactly.
It's a little bit of personal branding. People should know who we are. If we put it out, we said this is going to be a good idea. We think we have...
and Grant says obscurity is the biggest hurdle for anything. The more people that know you, the better.
And that's Grant Cardone, who Corey's referring to. That's another guy you might want to check on YouTube. And
we'll talk about him a lot during the show because...
So I think let's kind of wrap it up with a little bit about the show in terms of some of the details. So where can they find us, Corey?
You can find us actually right on Facebook, but actually our main website is www.beyondaveragepodcast.com. No spaces, no periods. Just
beyondaveragepodcast.com. You could subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher. You can get the podcast a lot of different ways. You can watch the video format on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can get links to all of our social media,
right,
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all on there. You can leave comments on there. Or we have email addresses for the show. Go to the Contact Us page. If anybody has questions, disagrees with us, wants to call us idiots, we encourage you to do so.
Yeah, exactly. Please do. Just because, not so we can bash or anything, just so we can, trade ideas. If you have something that kind of contradicts what we're saying, please, tell us. We'd love to learn.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is for each episode, we're going to have a show notes page. So, for example, this show is going to be beyondaveragepodcast.com/001 for show number 1. And we'll have the audio version up there you could download. We'll have the video format, and then we'll have show notes, which we'll post relevant information to what we talked about. So we'll probably have some links to some information about, Robert Kiyosaki, Jim Rohn, Grant Cardone, guys we mentioned.
There's just so many people. There's so much information, so many people out there doing it that it's an ocean of just good advice and successful people. Because the crazy thing about these successful people, and they're rich, you think, oh, the rich, the rich this, the rich that. No, these super rich individuals they want to help people. That's all they preach is they try to give back as much as they can. The problem is no one wants to help. I think they think they got it all figured out.
If all you did was watch the news, you would think that every person with over $1 million is looks like the Monopoly guy with a little monocle and a big bag of money running around. And that's
not true.
That's just not the case. It's almost been vilified to want to be successful in this country.
And there's a reason for that. Again, we'll touch on that in the future.
So I think that about wraps it up for
the first episode. This is more about just introductory, kind of tell you who we are, what the show's about, and again, if there's any ideas for show talk, we got a whole list of. We're going to talk about student loans, book recommendations.
We have a few guests already lined up.
Yes, people that you should follow, as in a guy named Peter Schiff, all about economics.
Robert Kiyosaki, Jim Rohn, all these people that have helped us tremendously. We're certainly going to share their information with you.
Yep.
We're going to be recommending a lot of books. We might actually do a few episodes where we actually just discuss one particular book, for that show.
And what I like about the show is it's actually going to force me to read more books because I'm going to want to read it, get through them, so I can get it back to you guys and share what I learned.
I read some statistic that the average CEO reads some number of books per year, and it was something
like 60 something.
Yeah, it was 50 or 60 something. Almost a book
under
one. Yep. It was almost a book a week that the average CEO is reading, which is ridiculous. The guy probably works 100 hours a week and he's still reading books.
Yep.
But these guys you find a way to do it. Yep. Audio books or whatever. Read at night. Read in the mornings. That's what the show's about. It's just doing the things, the little things that other people are not willing to do.
And if you guys have any ideas that you would want us to cover, we can always, if we don't know much about it, we'll research it and we can get someone on the show that does. And we'll cover whatever topic you guys think we should.
And even if you think we've made absolute fools of ourselves on this first show, like the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter at tweetbap. Corey, what's your Twitter handle? Where can people follow you personally?
Mine is CJ Anderson 71.
And I'm at apalm8, APALM.
Well, yeah, you got to throw that in front of mine.
8. Yeah, we got it. So I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yes. All right.
Over and out. I forgot to record.
No.
I'm kidding.
By your reaction, I thought you were serious.